Good morning, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Happy Wednesday as we quickly approach the end of summer and the end of the month. Can you believe it's already back to school time? Halloween stores are selling Halloween stuff, and fall's coming. As a matter of fact, the 0 week of football was last week. The first full week of college football is this week. We are steadily marching into fall. So let's start off with painting of the day. It is a pretty cool, really detailed floral painting on flowers. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. I think Belinda got that painting. It resides in our in our um, in our wine closet, so I don't see it often. But it's a cool little high detailed painting. I may go remote tomorrow inside my house so that I can show you some other artwork. I can only put smaller paintings on that wall, and we have some large paintings that I might want to show as a backdrop. But let's get to the top today. I'm really looking forward to talking about this topic today. And what we're going to talk about is the impact that gambling has on home ownership. And I actually wrote an article or posted an article yesterday to LinkedIn on this topic. I put a link in the show notes, so if you want to check out the article, it looks about like this article right here. It has tons of charts and graphs, pretty cool, pretty informative, probably has a half dozen graphs. And where this comes from, interestingly enough, I was reading the Axos Markets, and Axos puts out a great daily email, and it's free. And the title was "When Sports Betting Replaces the Stock Market." And I'm like, that is really interesting. And from there, I went to the article, or to the actual study, which is an 80-page study by a handful of scholars. They're all professors at Northwestern and BYU, and I think one's from possibly Kansas. And they did this study, what's the impact of sports betting on wealth? And what they did is they looked at states that made sports betting, that legalized sports betting, and they said, okay, how is wealth going in those states? And they found some really interesting things. First, in states that have legalized sports betting, on average, people in that state invest $50 less per quarter to long-term investments. Now you go, $50 isn't that much. But if you think about how many people in any one state do sports gambling, I don't know what the number is, but it can't be more than like 5% go on sports gambling. And so if only 1 in 20 are doing sports gambling, or 1 in 10, whatever the number is, if you think that small population can then create the average for the entire population of $50 a quarter, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? And the study goes on to say that for every dollar that somebody gambles on sports, it'll result in $2 less of making investments. So every dollar of sports betting results in $2 less of making long-term investments. And that's obviously not good, right? That's not going to help create wealth in America. And what happens, the article opined, or I think it might have been an opinion piece in Bloomberg, which was an excellent piece. I put in my article in LinkedIn, you will get a link to the study, a link to a corresponding article from Bloomberg, and a link to a corresponding article from Axos Markets. The two articles give color to the study. You may not want to read all 80 pages, but I will tell you the charts towards the back on pages 60 or so are fantastic. But getting back to it, so what I think the authors opined was that there's a stimulus that we get from investing. Like, think of all these meme stocks. Like during the pandemic, investments went way up because people started to play the stock market for entertainment, right? And then when sports betting about that time became legal, people switched from kind of playing the stock market for entertainment to doing sports betting. But the result is that in states where there's legalized sports betting, there's far less investments, and that's a problem. And so in reading this article, I was like, well, that's really interesting. I wonder then, what's the impact on housing, right? Because there has to be an impact on housing. If people save less, they're less able to afford to buy a house, right? So here's the thing. I'm going to share some statistics with you. I'm reading right from my article. Here's the deal. So increased gambling, right, in these states where gambling is legalized, so it diverts money from doing positive things, right, and it results in higher credit card balances, more overdraft fees, and more negative credit. And it also results in lower ratios, right? So what they find is people that do a lot of sports gambling bounce checks. People that do a lot of sports gambling have higher credit card balances. And then what this results for us is sports gambling results in reduced savings. Reduced savings creates a challenge for down payment. It also results in increased debt. Well, increased debt gives us higher ratios. And then finally, it contributes to negative credit or adverse credit in the form of late payments to credit cards, in the form of bounce checks, and that leads to tougher to qualify. So sports betting leads to problems in having people qualify. And as sports betting becomes more prevalent in the United States, it's something we have to pay attention to. It's one more thing we have to pay attention to. And so what I encourage them, and in my article, if you're in real estate or mortgage, we need to start paying attention. And if you are one of the people teaching financial literacy, if you're teaching a path to home ownership, you need to start including the topic of sports betting. And you don't have to do it accusationally. You just go, hey, look, here's what we've learned. As sports betting grows across the United States, people seem to save less in the states where it's legal. And then they not only save less, but they incur more credit card debt, and they start to have bounce checks, and they get adverse credit. All these are very negative headwinds to home ownership. And so as you approach your path to home ownership, what I really encourage is maybe taking your foot off the gas if you do sports betting. Now, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that in the path to home ownership, we need to save as much money as possible. We need to pay down as much debt as possible. We need to have the best credit score as possible. And studies show sports betting gives us a contrary result to this. And so I think we just need to include it into our conversation on home ownership and financial literacy. And then as loan officers, we need to pay attention when we go to pre-qualify somebody. If somebody does not qualify and we create a home loan action plan, we need to make sure that we do our due diligence in seeing their background if one of the things that's keeping them from qualifying is sports betting. And we can see that all sorts of ways, including looking at their bank statements, right? If their bank statements has a lot of NSFs, we want to ask them why. We, of course, can see withdrawals or deposits from gambling institutions. And if we see constant withdrawals, then we know we might have a problem, and we may need to actually address it. Go, look, I'm not making a judgment on what you do for entertainment. I'm just telling you it's harder to qualify for home. Studies show it's harder to qualify for home if you really participate in sports betting leading up to the purchase. And so I would advise not doing it. But we need to pay attention. So this is just one more thing that we need to learn about. It's one more thing to pay attention to. Incredible, right? It's amazing how many things we have going on. But who would think sports betting is now a thing? To think that in the states that there's sports betting, that on average the citizens of that state save $50 less per quarter or $200 less a year. Even with that number being probably so few people in the population doing sports betting. And I'm not against sports betting. I'm not against sports betting for entertainment, but let's not let it get in the way of things that are more important, like home ownership. And so let's pay attention to it. Really critical for those lawyers out there doing financial literacy and home buyer seminars. Let's start to add this as a topic, a light topic, but let's address it. When we're pre-qualifying people, let's pay attention to their bank statements. Let's pay attention to their credit cards. Let's see if there's adverse credit information. If it's linked to sports betting, then let's address it with our borrowers in our home loan action plan. How's that? So that's my message today. Check out my article. I don't think it's that long. I think it's 800 words. It has all sorts of interesting charts and graphs. Of course, it has links to the original sources. I think it's pretty informative. Give it a try. I appreciate you checking out my Facebook Live today. I appreciate you just following me however you do it, whether it's Facebook Lives or my podcast, or if you're following me on LinkedIn. I'm catching up on articles and information, so I'm doing a few extra posts on LinkedIn this week. Have quite a few interesting posts. I hope to continue to do that. With that, it's Wednesday. I hope everybody has a great week, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday is my new normal series where I talk about the future of mortgage and real estate. I'm really looking forward to my topic tomorrow. I'm going to discuss the different lending models, so different branch models, lending models, and just discuss not which one is best, but which one will most likely get the most purchase or have the thrive the most in the future. So that'll be my topic tomorrow. I hope you join me. I'll be at around 7:30 tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. Thank you. Bye.